การประชุมครั้งใหญ่3ครั้งที่ผ่านพ้นไปแล้วในภูมิภาคเอเชียตะวันออกเฉียงใต้ก็คืออาเซียนซัมมิต G20 และเอเปกซึ่งเอเปกก็จัดที่ประเทศไทยนะคะอาจจะมีผู้นำไม่กี่ท่านที่ได้เข้าการประชุมครบทั้ง3การประชุมหนึ่งในนั้นก็คือผู้อำนวยการกองทุนการเงินระหว่างประเทศหรือ IMF และในระหว่างที่เดินทางมาร่วมประชุมเอเปกในไทยฉันก็ได้มีโอกาสสัมภาษณ์และขอให้เล่าถึงมุมมองในฐานะที่ได้ติดตามทั้งการประชุมทั้ง3วงนะคะเห็นว่าจุดยืนร่วมกันของผู้นำทั้ง3การประชุมที่จะนำไปสู่การลดผลกระทบต่อเศรษฐกิจโลกจะเกิดขึ้นได้อย่างไรค่ะ
What I have seen in all three places is a recognition that we are in a highly complex global environment and that leaders must muster the political will to overcome the difficulties they face. And what are the signals? Very good meeting between President Biden and President Xi Jinping sends a powerful signal to the world of these two largest economies cooperating. Very extensive discussions on what are the key drivers of difficulty. COVID still affecting the world economy, war in Ukraine. And I want to express my admiration from the President of Indonesia. President Jokowi said, this war must end. And I can see that many in the room have been really in support of this message.
How can G20 leaders and APEC leaders do more in order to prevent the world from getting into global recession or into poorer stage?
First and foremost, leaders have the power to provide a good foundation for growth. Over the last decades, international cooperation and a more integrated world economy made the world's economy 3 times bigger. And who are the biggest beneficiaries? Emerging markets, developing economies. They quadrupled in this time. Just in APEC, that translates into 1.5 billion people lifted out of poverty. And this trend is now reversed. So ensuring 2 things. One, that countries have sound macroeconomic policies. They have buffers against shocks. They have transparent revenue raising and public spending that is sufficient. That is a must. 2, that countries work together. There is simply no path to prosperity without international cooperation.
How does the competition between the US and China, especially in geopolitics and in many fronts of economy, worry you in terms of global economy?
It is important to recognize that competition is healthy. It drives countries to do better. But competition should not eliminate cooperation. We have seen for some time China and US having more tensions that in the end cost their people. For example, the tariffs that US imposed on Chinese goods actually led to high consumer prices and fed into what is today a high inflation. On the other hand, China is benefiting when there is that large market for its goods. Finding a way to separate objective reasons for competition, for example, the need to diversify supply chains. We have seen from COVID and from the war that interruption of supply chains when there is no backup affect the economy tremendously. So this is something objectively that needs to happen to secure supply diversity for the sake of functioning economy. But that should not lead to a pendulum that swings so far into contagion that in the end the world economy pays a price.
With the continuation of Russia-Ukraine war, how can the world economy sustain in this situation? Because right now the whole world is facing with the rising prices of fertilizer, inflation and energy crisis.
I want to say that we are particularly concerned about fertilizer prices and overall the issue of food security. Food security is not hit just by the war. It is also hit by climate events. And unless we concentrate on working to overcome, that would mean for hundreds of millions of people the pain of hunger. What I want to pass as a message is that the world needs peace. Ukraine needs peace. Russia needs peace. And the more the world leaders are united on that message, the higher is the chance that we would see an end of the war.
You are in Southeast Asia. What's the overall prospect of this region in the world economy right now?
But Southeast Asia is a bright spot on a very dark horizon. Growth of countries, the ASEAN economies, for example, is way above the global average this year, and it would be above the global average next year. But Southeast Asia is affected by the spillovers because when US, China, and the EU simultaneously slow down, we know that 40% of ASEAN export is to these three destinations that inevitably would hurt prospects here. What countries can do is, one, increase collaboration among themselves and trade links so they build more resilience on that basis. And two, I see high prospects of turning the climate crisis into an economic opportunity, as well as making digitalization a trampoline to higher productivity and growth in this part of the world.
The main agenda of Thailand as the hosting economy of APEC, Thailand pushed for Bangkok goals and BCG. How do you see that fit in with the future growth of the world economy?
It is wonderful because this is exactly the direction the world has to take. We need to recognize that biodiversity and climate, when they're healthy, this is good for everybody. When the development is inclusive, it is good for everyone. When we have open and connected economies, it is good for everyone. So I must say I was so happy to discuss with the Prime Minister how that agenda is a foundation for a better future for the world.